could have been coming from an absolutely abusive situation. They're living in a shelter. It's a normal reaction. And so where do they get validation of what's right? Where do they get that compass back from? Who do they turn to?
Hello, and welcome to Root Cause for the Need Foundation's podcast, where we get at the root cause of homelessness, other issues. Today, we're talking about why children, especially those experiencing homelessness, misbehave or seem to be misbehaving. What we've noticed a lot with the events we hold is that when we first meet children in their facilities where they're living, like shelters and transitional housing, they'll just act crazy. Like kids will be running around screaming, like
Those are my kind of kids. You talk about why kids misbehave, and the first thing I think about is like, why did I misbehave? So
yeah.
I got a lot of like hands-on experience with this, my own.
Yeah. No, that's great. I'm really excited to hear what you have to say about like your experience with these kids and like why some of them are maybe looking like they misbehave more than other kids. We just see such a variety at For the Need of kids with a variety of maturity levels and the craziness levels. And so we're gonna talk about that and where that's coming from. So let's start with you. What do you see with the kids that we work with, and do you have an explanation for why they act the way they do?
Well, it's interesting, and I think not only with our kids, but just any kids, because you'll see it on two extreme sides, where some kids are overparented and they misbehave at some point in time, and other kids that are really just left on their own. And I think we see a lot of more kids that are left on their own, and so I think two extremes can have similar results, but what we see is the more left on their own. I remember taking kids back from summer camp, and there's just kids right. It wasn't a shelter system that I was taking them back to. It was more like project housing, and no guardians, no adult, no even older role model teenagers around. Just a bunch of kids. Some kids just in diapers out in the front. Like there's no grass. It was just like a little fence kind of thing and dirt and a kid in its diaper.
Oh my goodness. So
and
you dropped off the kids there?
I dropped off the kids there, and then I knock on the door, and the guardian yells out, "What?" I'm like, "I'm bringing your kids back." Okay. Like I was bothering them, and I was like, "All right, I guess that's an official handoff right there." I never saw her, but I could recognize the voice, and I knew who it was. And the kid just got right, and it was that. I mean, honestly, for a kid, total fun, total fun environment. But yeah, no real guidance on that, and so
it seems like you hit the nail on the head. I see the same thing. Like there's kids that have overbearing parents or one parent that's like really overbearing and another parent that's like completely not in the picture. That's what I see. Like that's very common.
Are you seeing that at the shelter system? And
you know what's interesting? There's different types of families that we work with, like different types of backgrounds. I think the families where there's been like an abusive parent or a parent who's been I think really just if there was one parent who was abusive and is no longer in the picture, the remaining parent gets really protective for good reason. I mean, they're scared.
Yeah.
They don't want to see their kid like harmed in any way, and they've just escaped something that was harmful.
Yeah.
I see that side of it where those parents are usually like really protective and like over, like you would call it a helicopter parent, what that specific parent is, even though it's one.
Yeah. And I would even go beyond helicopter parent, because I think helicopter parent gets a real bad name, but there's also like stalker parent. Like it's even beyond helicopter, because I see it at the Cozy Corner, where at their events there's a lot of activity going on, and we tell people, hey, you can go to this table if you're overstimulated, which I hate that word. But in any case, it is a safe environment, and we have to protect these kids because we don't know what trauma they've gone through. And so it's good that we have this place. But what I see when they get to the Cozy Corner, that's just a hiding place from the world. And if I go over there, and we have the activity where we're building model rockets, and the guardian is sitting there right next to a 13-year-old
Hmm.
and just, do you want a crown? Do you want to this kind of thing? And I'll be like, hey, how about participating in the act? How about building a rocket?
Yeah.
And I don't even start with that. I'll be like, hey, can you open that package for me? And they'll open it. And I'm like, hey, do you want to glue this fin on this rocket thing? And they're doing it,
Yeah.
And so I think that lack of change of direction by an outside person, in that situation, me, introducing something that would be productive, is keeping that child from being productive at all.
Hmm.
As what I consider an older kid. I mean, 14 years old, I'd already been babysitting for 2 years, earning money. Like you can be productive. Back in the old days, you worked on the farm when you were a little kid. You
Yeah.
know, now you're talking about like a 14-year-old where the mom's handing them crowns
Yeah.
to color in a coloring book. So,
Yeah. So there's definitely a lot of that. And what do you think would help those
and
kids?
I don't mean to be so hard about that. Like you said, could have been coming from an absolutely abusive situation. They're living in a shelter. It's a normal reaction.
Yeah.
And so something has to intervene. I shouldn't say has to, but it's nice when something intervenes and then you can see like the health come into the picture.
It's so important for children to have that experience where they can feel safe away from even their parents and just be themselves and just be kids. And so,
Oh,
yeah.
that's your summer camp pitch. I can hear. which which
Actually, yeah,
I
I do mention that for summer camp. It's
yeah,
where a lot of these children are going away from their parents for the first time overnight, and the parents get really scared.
yeah.
But then the kids have an amazing time, and then the parents are grateful.
This could start sounding like an infomercial, but first off, we don't get anything. We pay for the summer camp. We put money into it. But it's also because we believe in it. Like, so
Yeah.
it rolls off our tongue like we rehearse this, which we didn't, but we
Yeah.
we believe in what we're doing. So
Yeah.
it's easy for us to talk about, but finish what you're saying now.
Yeah, like at the events, at summer camp, or like even playing sports, there's just so many opportunities for children to like kind of get out of their shell and break that insecurity, that fear, and just really like inspire them and like motivate them to move forward. I think it's really important for kids to do that. But the parents don't always fully understand because a lot of time they're just focused on survival. So that's what I see a lot of the time. And then these older kids, on the other hand, so that's one group of kids I think that we see.
Hmm.
It's that group of kids where the parent has seen something fearing that brings fear, like abuse, and then overparents or overprotects. And then on the other side, I think there's a second group of kids that we see a lot where they're left on their own, like you said, but left so on their own that the older kids are basically becoming the parents for the younger kids or completely actually just being that. And like for those kids, you see like I almost think they come across at least as more mature on
Hmm.
the outside. Oh, what do you think?
Yeah. The issue is because we were talking about misbehaving, and there's
Mhm.
a difference between misbehaving and learning how to survive.
Mm.
Because they go hand in hand. Those kids know they have to survive on their own, so they adopt the system around them in a couple ways. One, they just learn how to beg. They just learn how to be part of a system that gives to them or whatever. Um, and but they can still be pretty unruly.
Mm.
And then the other thing is like getting into gangs, drugs, whatever, and be pretty unruly because they're learning how to survive. They're taking the environment that's around them, and then that's what is giving them the attention, with a group of bad kids or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and so they do. I do see the same thing as you, where I think they have a maturity about them to where they know it's up to them. They have to figure it out. Where the other kids are like, "Mom, what do I do? What's next?" Or what should I do here? They immediately with any situation look to the person that's sheltering them.
Hmm.
You know, um,
Yeah, it's
so
like a forced maturity.
yeah. And I was also thinking, our podcast is Root Cause. And when you talk about the guardians trying to survive, trying to escape whatever trauma they're being a part of, all this stuff is generational. Not all of it, but a lot of it we see is their guardians before them
Mm-hmm.
weren't in a position to pass on good, I don't even want to
Moral
use for good,
compass.
moral compass, and uh, being able to take the difficult things around them and turning it into something positive. And so it just keeps going down the cycle. Um, but the kids that don't get any intervention on this stuff, it's you really see it come out in their behavior. Like we do see kids that are fighting, that don't know how to control their emotions,
Mm.
that are actually cussing, just doing more unruly things. And if the answer is like, how do you correct? Like a lot of it is so easy to correct. You when you put them in an environment to where there is a moral compass, there is some guidance, to where there's not there's still an understanding of what they're going through, but not a fear to still talk to them
Hmm.
and expect something better from them. That's the part I most enjoy about it,
Hmm.
where they they end up liking it. Like it's funny because
They
sometimes
like what specifically?
well, I there's been times I've left our event and I go, man, I was a little hard on that kid. You know, it's all out of love. So I know, but I'll tend to be, and I'll be like, are they coming back next time? Like, and they want to come back,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll want to come back to talk to me, most of the time.
Hmm.
Um, I can't think of a time not
Yeah.
necessarily. Sometimes it might take two times where they kind of get back to the swing of it, depending on uh, their maturity and what they're going through. But that's the part I really like, because that's the part where we feel like we're making a difference.
Yeah, like you're saying, some of these kids you'll interact with, you realize they've not really been told no, or they've not really been told, like, hey, you can do more. You can get a job if you're 18, even 16. And some of these kids have never heard that before. A lot of what we see too is, like you said, the generational cycle where a child at whatever age is seeing their parent, who's supposed to be their example, make decisions that are unhealthy for the family. And like as these kids are growing up, they're deciding for themselves what's right and wrong, and it's difficult for them to really delineate that. And so a lot of kids I think just give up. And you see a lot of kids join like gangs or not finish school or be promiscuous. And you could say like, oh, they're misbehaving, but it's like, well, what was their example? And what's around them? Who are the friends? So, yeah, I do think it's really important to bring these children like out of their environment that they're living in and show them something else. Like we've realized, we just had a shelter visit recently where we went to the Salvation Army, one of their transitional villages, and the kids were crazy, like yelling, running around, like kind of disrespectful, just sort of, generally like ignoring what we're trying to do a little bit. We got a good handle on it. Like it was still really like productive and fun and everything, but at first it's like, okay, this is different. But then when we bring those same kids out of that environment to our event where they're surrounded by a bunch of other kids who've been in our program for a while and mentors who are going to tell them no, or are going to tell them you can do this thing that you're scared of doing, and helping them overcome that fear, I do see there's a complete shift in how those kids behave. And can that be provided long term? Can that overcome their guardian example? I don't know. Depends.
Yeah, I mean that's our whole theory. And Salvation Army is such a great organization
Mm-hmm.
to provide a place for these kids and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just like you need something more. And then our hope is that there's like a beacon of light. It's like a light tower that's out in the ocean to keep the ships from crashing into the rocks.
Mm.
Some might still crash into the rocks. They can see the beacon and, I don't know, ignore it, or, have some other issue that drives them into the rocks. But the hope is that that extra little beacon, and it really comes down to the mentorship that you're
Mm.
talking about, because like if they don't have that, if they only have their guardianship, the people that are around them, that um, some through no fault of their own ended up in the situation, but a lot of them through a lot of fault of their own
Mm.
ended up in the situation they're in. So when they're getting mad at the kid's like, is this something right or wrong? I mean, look at this crap we're dealing with. Like, the guardian loses a lot of credibility. We're
Yeah.
seeing that with the older kids for sure, where they're telling me directly, my mom is crazy. Like, you know,
Really?
oh, dude. Uh, and he's like, I thought we were getting a little out of the craziness. Then they got some housing, and then they moved in another family that was completely crazy. Like, he's like, we finally got,
Mm.
sorted out. And then my mom moved in this other family. Now we can't get them out. And it's
Wow.
just, and they're all, it's just like in a one bedroom. And now there's like seven, eight more or plus more. And you can just see the look of disappointment. And so where do they get validation of what's right? Where do they get that compass back from?
Yeah.
Who do they turn to? You know, and to segue into another topic too about uh, behavior is, at some point in time, without For the Need and out other agencies, the only other backstop is the law.
Hmm.
And I've seen that, and because we've done a lot of interactive stuff with police officers, where the kids are so against the police officers.
Hmm.
They've been trained so much that police are bad, they're out to get us, because they've seen that. Like, the cops have had to come in and like take their dad away, or take the
Mm.
mom away, or the interaction has not been positive.
Yeah.
And 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 then the only differentiation from right from wrong, backstop that's going to keep going down that path, is getting in trouble. You'd rather have positive reinforcement. You're like, hey, wow, what a great job. For the Need, you get a charm for doing good. That's
Hmm.
the best kind of um, motivation for a kid to go the right direction, is to be that
Yeah.
avoid. But if that doesn't exist, at least there's a law that says, hey, if you do this, you're going to get in trouble. So you might want to reconsider it. And so that's another concern, because you see, first off, they don't like the police, and second off, the police have been, you know, limited to what their ability to enforce law is. And so it's a double-edged sword, and you see that in certain areas, and you go, they say, why are the homeless population increasing? And some of these seem to be so fundamentally easy to understand. Yes, there is corruption and bad police officers, but there's got to be a system that enforces the law to give that last bit of motivation to continue to do the right thing.
Yeah. I do think that intervention does help though. Like there's so much hope for these kids. We've seen like all the kids in our program. I don't know of any of them that have gotten arrested. They're breaking that cycle. It's definitely possible. So that
Well,
that
what
gives
I
me a lot of
see all
hope.
the time is they do break the rules all the time, and I'm like, dude, you got to stop doing. They there is no
Yeah,
there's
maybe they just
I,
haven't been caught yet.
well, the thing about it is, because like, I'm like, hey,
Well, they're not doing drugs.
we got to get you to get your driver's license. They go, I drive all the time. And I'm like, dude, like, not understanding that misstepping over the law, a consequence could be so bad that could really set you back even further than you already are. There's no connection to that. Al is so funny when I talk
Mm.
to, because this has been universal. I talk to him and I'm like, you shouldn't do that, because the consequence, and it's so foreign. There's no like dots being connected,
Hmm.
that activity could cause them more trouble than it's helping them. The convenience of them getting to a job with a car, they don't know that it doesn't have license plates on it. They don't have a license, and there's no connection to any consequence to that until it's too late, until the consequence comes, and then
Yeah.
they're buried by life even further than they are.
Hmm.
And so it's it, it shouldn't keep shocking me, but it's I should walk up to each kid that we're trying to help get a driver's license and say, stop driving without a license.
Yeah.
Because they'd be like, how
They
do you?
won't be able to get their license if they get in trouble for that.
There'd
Although,
be
I mean, they'll have, maybe they would, but they'd have
what,
issues.
I won't name names. The one kid goes, "Oh, I got pulled over,"
Oh, no.
but he was they I don't know. Who knows? They took the car away, and
Oh, what?
but it wasn't even his, and so I don't know. Yeah, but anyway, it's it it goes beyond normal kid behavior. You had normal what I don't want to use normal. That's a bad word to use.
Healthy? I don't
I
know.
didn't even use the word healthy, but um, typical kid behavior, which is a lot of kids have to learn on their first job that they need to show up on time. Like I could tell you all the time, hey, you got to show up on time. They're paying you. You need to work for
Mm.
them and not like, hey, why are they asking me to do this? Because they're paying you, you know. And sometimes young people, myself included, you have to go and get fired
Mm.
and go, oh, dang, I could lose this job if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. And sometimes
Mm.
that's to me normal. There's some kids that can start their career path or their first job and excel and do well. But even kids in typical environments, I won't use the word normal, need to go get fired at least once to realize like mom and dad aren't going to protect me
Mm.
and there's a different accountability. An 8 hours shift is a long time until you get used to it. That's typical. Where in these other situations, it's like there's it's not that it's like you shouldn't drive a car. Like that's a surprise to them.
Yeah.
Like it's like literally funny. I'm like, you shouldn't drive a car, and now I got to convince them they shouldn't drive a car. So a little bit like what Matthew
Yeah.
was talking about, like is this good? Is this good instruction for? They're not used to getting good instruction, and so uh, yeah, yeah. I don't. I keep using the word you have to. Something else needs to take place to transition the way they think, to rebuild that compass
Yeah.
so that they can find the path that has the least resistance to get them to where their target is.
Exactly. To help them hit their targets in life. It
Yeah.
all circles back. Yeah. And I mean, as a disclaimer too, it's not like these parents aren't doing their best. Like some of them are doing everything they can, but also a lot of these parents were these kids at some point and they had that parent before them making decisions that were not good examples. And it goes back so much. That's why it's so important that something like outside of their regular situation
Mm-hmm.
is shown them.
It's hard. I hear what you say because I haven't met a parent that doesn't love their child, but some of what they're doing looks like they don't.
Hmm.
And I know I've gotten discouraged. I've seen you get discouraged. It's like, dang it, like why aren't they signing them up? All they have to do is sign this thing so they can go to summer camp or whatever. And it's easy to get frustrated with them, but they love their kids. They for whatever reason aren't prioritizing some of it very valid reasons, but other of it is just they haven't been taught that either, or they haven't that hasn't been what they grew up with or
Yeah.
whatever. And so the finding the root cause of that we think has to do with the upbringing, and that's why we're focused on the kids.
Yeah. I agree. It's been great to see how much difference can be made with such small, you know, memories made or moments had between kids and mentors here and there. Like those changes are so big from something so small. It's just, just adjusting the trajectory a little bit, helping with the moral compass being built even in the first place. And these kids can have such amazing futures. And we're seeing that starting. And it's really exciting to see that continue and grow even more. So, yeah, there's at least two different groups of kids that we see, the ones who are helicoptered over and the ones who are left alone. And both have unique issues and things that are going on in ways that they can, misbehave or go against the rules in different ways. And yeah, this has been why those children misbehave, and I hope everybody watching has learned something, seen a little insight into the day to day for the need and these kids. Any final words to take us out here?
Well, understanding the why helps you guide you towards the solution, and everything we've said, the word that keeps coming back in my mind from this whole episode is mentorship. Everything is mentorship. And then when people ask how do I be a mentor, if they're already going down a good path, that they don't have to have all life figured out, but have a moral compass. That's it. Just come with your moral compass
Mm,
and be with the kids. It's not some kind of training video. Just being there is that difference
yeah,
that is having a great effect. So I don't want to say it's easy, but it's so much more rewarding than difficult. And in a general sense, it's not difficult. It's just being there. So that's
100%.
that's the way to solve the root cause of this issue.
Awesome. Well, thank you for watching Root Cause and listening to For the Need Foundation's podcast. And we hope that you will be there as we are there. We'll see you next time.